Hey, let's talk about games. Going to be a little bit of a guide going through a very specific build for a very general purpose. With the current predicament in terms of leveling and respecking our skills, if those of you that aren't aware, unfortunately at the moment we were previously able to respec all of our skill points by left clicking and right clicking. This ability has been taken away as the developers have told us it was an unintended bug, but one they intended to keep for the duration of the test, basically because it allowed the testing to be sort of more comprehensive. Unfortunately, they've taken this away but haven't provided us with the follow-up system, which is basically a consumable system to allow us to respec. Hopefully that makes a bit of sense, but yep, bit of a dick move because now we currently can't respec. However, what I can do is give you a build which you can use with any weapon. A build that won't be entirely specialised, but will be competent enough to get you through the game and will mean that you don't have to respec every time you want to change weapon. Or actually it won't mean you have to remake a character every time you want to change weapons. So, without any further ado, there is a number of these that we can just junk straight away. There are a lot of trees here that just simply won't be appropriate. Close combat, range combat, single target, area effect, physical attacks, execution, aim, shot, damage over time, heat attacks, debuffs, and, well, I could probably junk movement as well. All of those can be trashed. So the ones that will apply, no matter what weapon you use, will be critical hit, suppression, defense, hit points. That's pretty much it, and maybe some from the support. So what we're going to do here is spend all of my points, make ourselves a build which will literally work with any single weapon. Now bear in mind, any weapon can critical hit, but there are perks that will prevent you from being able to critical hit, so just keep your eyes peeled for that. Now, in terms of some of the finite sort of details here, you might say, okay, a rapid fire weapon would suit this one more, a slow fire rate of weapon would not suit this quite so much, but I'm going to go into it anyway. Restoring focus, all of these are somewhat optional. I'm just going to go with the ones I would personally recommend. I'm not intending on my suppression getting that low, so I'm going to skip this one, but if you find your suppression's always quite low, it is quite useful. Now, if we go down to the hit points tree, I'm going to go through these in sort of order of preference. The next one I would always pick up on a character is this, which basically means whenever your health drops below the 25% threshold, as it drops and passes that threshold, it will reset your inoculator cooldown. Very, very nice to have. As we're rocking the Crusader, the focus regeneration over here on the support tree is going to be quite nice as well. Now, we've still got 28 points left. The suppression tree basically applies based on how good your suppression is, if it's green or not, so that's a very nice one to have. You've got a mixture of damage reduction and just generic flat damage increase over there. Very nice to have. Some of these will be sort of take or pick. You may like them, you may not. Choice is entirely yours. I like a little bit of regen. I like a little bit of extra critical hits whenever I can get it. My suppression should be green the majority of the time, the way I play. Down in the defense tree too, I think a safe bet for many characters is going to be the 20% extra reduction from armor. Better for Crusaders, much better for Crusaders, but still very viable for Assassins. Even if you do have some of the slightly weaker armors, it's going to be a couple of percent extra damage mitigation, which is going to be nice to have. Now we've got 14 points, and this is really where we can start to be a little bit more flexible with how we spend the rest. Really, we're going to be dotting them throughout the support, hit point, and defense tree. There's really not much else you can do. If you are 100% determined to sort of mix melee and ranged, you could probably go into the physical attacks. If you don't like the heat weapons, the physical is less restricted than the heat attacks. Heat won't be applied to any melee weapons whatsoever, so it's going to automatically limit you to just range. Physical means you can still use a good chunk of weaponry within the game, but I'm keeping this completely open so we can use whatever we want. So let's go down to the hit points tree down here, and a few other good ones are useful to do. Take a little bit of reduction in suppression damage, always nice. Extra hit point regeneration. Again, these are somewhat optional, but I like them. I think the overall max hit point and max suppression is actually pretty good for the Crusader. In terms of how I would prioritise spending points in this game, spending them defensively I find is often slightly better than spending them offensively. 150 bonus hit points to an assassin per se is quite a big chunk of extra health. You compare that with getting 1.5% extra damage. Well, the truth is when you're shooting an enemy and it dies in one hit, or if it dies in 2 hits for that matter, or 3 hits, 1.5% extra damage is not really going to make a single damn bit of difference. It's still going to die in 2 hits, so that point has essentially been wasted. So unless you're killing stuff in 1 shot as opposed to 2 shots, generally speaking, it's not a particularly good investment. Once you've got enough skill points, it generally sort of tends to be worth it, but spending defensively I do find very, very wise indeed. Now, one that can be very useful is a 20% damage reduction in cover. Obviously not so useful for you melee users out there, but even when I'm rocking a melee character, I do take a ranged weapon, so I probably would have kept a point. There we go, we'll stick that back in here, because even when, oh god damn it, I've done it, haven't I, guys? I've done it, I can't do it. Can we save a point? We've saved a point, there we go, that'll do. Now, even though I am going to be rocking some melee weapons with this character, it means I'll always have a ranged option too, so if I fight an enemy, or let's say a tank or something like that, or something, a Nurgle Dreadnought or a boss, and I'm getting stomped, I'll pull out my ranged weapon, and this 20% damage reduction in cover is very, very nice to have. Now, that's generally where I would start. You don't have to do exactly what I've done, but really a combination of the critical suppression, support, hit point and defense tree is gonna see you through the game, capable of sort of swapping between any weapon you like. There are some potentials within the movement tree. You can probably go for movement speed for one-handed weapons, maybe. That wouldn't limit you too much. Movement speed outside of combat and a few extra bit of movement there if you really want to. I don't really see those as particularly points well invested, seeing as you don't do a lot of moving in this game. If you are 100% determined to use single target weapons, you could probably go for the single hit tree. Or if you know you only want to play melee, you can obviously go for the melee tree. But I know for a fact that most people get bored of weapons every now and again. They like to chop and change. And this system, or this weapon set we've got at the moment, is not going to tie us down. No matter what weapon we use, anything's going to be viable. And with the extra tankiness, it's really going to help us out. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you find it useful. There's going to be more stuff coming this week. Hopefully a developer stream coming later in the week, and we get to see what they've changed in the live build. I say the live build, sorry, the offline build, the developer build. Hopefully on Friday, but we're waiting for an official announcement. Guys, have yourself a great week. I'll speak to you soon. All the best.